Welcome to yet another masterclass of Making Health Matter, a knowledge initiative from Ogilvy, India. Today's episode will be a little different. We will focus on an increasingly exciting field of medicine, genomics. But before you think that this is a scientific session meant for just the students of medicine, hold on there. Let me tell you that this session is actually meant for everyone, people like you and I. The idea is to understand genomics. What makes it interesting? How is it relevant to us as human beings and as marketeers? And to talk to us in a language that we understand, I'm pleased to introduce you to our guest today, Mr. Subhamoy Dastidar. Dusty, as I refer to him, is the director of Lilac Insights, a cutting-edge genetic diagnostic company in India. His is a classic story of a successful transition from pharma and diagnostic marketing from an established corporate to doing something on his own and making it big. Dusty, welcome to Making Health Matter, and thanks for doing this session for us. So Dusty, the first question that comes to mind is, what is genomics?
So Rana, before I talk about genomics, let us understand what is genome. It is very simple that we all have heard about gene. So in our cell, in the nucleus, we have all genetic materials are embedded there within the nucleus, right? So this entire genetic material is called genome. Now, genetic material also means ultimately genetic information.
Right.
So this genetic information of any organism is genome.
Okay.
And study of genome is genomics.
Okay, excellent. So why is there so much of excitement around genomics? If I was to see and read up about future of medicine, it is all about genes and genomics. What is it that is making it so exciting and interesting?
That's a good question. See, if you look at genome, what I said, genome is the genetic information. So that means that what is genomic information? It's a complete information of my body. Right from my structural information in terms of my eyes, where my nose, how will I look, my color of my hair, including my different metabolism that's going in my body. Everything is a part of that genomic information.
Interesting.
Now imagine today I have an individual for whom I am able to know everything about that individual, everything about the genome, whatever the information are there in the genome.
Okay.
And I'm able to make some kind of in terms of either treatment, in terms of management, in terms of some intervention, which can possibly improve the person's life. So that is the kind of possibilities. Now, real possibilities. It's not like in a science fiction, but it's a real possibilities which globally everyone is who are involved in this are able to see this. Excellent. And that is why probably there's so much of so much of excitement with this.
So tell while I get this, so can you tell me about what is the application of genomics? How does it work?
Okay. So Rana, before I tell you the application, I'll take a couple of minutes to give you the background.
Okay, for sure.
So this whole thing, genome, gene, genetics, this is nothing new. It has been known for maybe 50 years or more before that. We know that Watson Crick got his Nobel Prize for the DNA helix structure. Yes. So it was known. Correct. But last 1 decade, there's a lot of significant changes that have happened. This starting of this incident was something called Human Genome Projects. You may have heard that. Correct. So Human Genome Project was done by 6 countries. They joined hand together, and the purpose of this project was to understand the human genome sequencing. That means a human genome is made up of a DNA. Right. And these DNA there are a sequence of nucleotides, something called nucleotide. I'm not going to details.
For sure.
This has got almost kind of a billions of sequences.
Okay.
In terms of number, which means there's some thought experiment that if you open a cell, open a DNA and put all the DNA together, it can go up to moon and come back many times. That is the amount of the length of DNA that is sitting within each nucleus.
Wow.
Now this is a chemical structure, right? Now, reading this in billions of such sequence, reading this is not a small
course,
feat. It's a huge effort.
of course.
So it took almost. It started in 1990,
Sure.
and finally the scientists were able to kind of come out with the final understanding of what is the sequence of this human map and sequence of this human genome,
Mhm.
and it was published in 2003.
Okay.
Now, interesting thing is that this. I think this project took a lot to 6 major countries, the big guys, the big countries, which did together with all those very large institutes, universities, institute. They worked together. It almost the cost was almost a little bit of less than $3 billion,
Wow.
and then uh, today, if I look at this situation today, if I want to do a human genome sequencing, it will cost me one couple of millionth of a dollar, billionth of that price. That means couple of $100 you'll be able to do that, which took 13 years. Today you can do it in probably in 2 days.
My God.
So that's how exponentially the capability grew.
Fantastic.
And secondly, it is not that which was confined to some couple of 6-7 universities. No, today it's accessible to hundreds of centers and labs, even private labs,
Right. Right.
like including that of ours. So
Right.
it is available now.
Right.
So, and therefore, what has happened because of the more and more accessibility, because of drop in cost, because of better computational power,
Right.
it has opened a huge possibilities today.
Right. 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 So, with this being done, with the sequencing being done, I guess what you're trying to say is a person was able to open up the gene and read it perfectly well. Why? And you said there's lots of information that's available there. Brings me back to the question I asked. So, what do I do with it? So, what's the application?
So if I look at genome, basically, our genome has got a two portion. One is called a coding region, and there's a non-coding region.
Okay.
The coding region is basically the ones which are responsible for the synthesis of proteins of my body. So all the protein, what kind of protein will be synthesized, is synthesized in the cell, in the ribosome. We have learned that earlier.
Yes.
In our school days.
Yes.
So it gives the information what kind of protein to be formed. That means in your suppose genome, in my genome, this has to be same. That coding region has to be same. It cannot be different between.
Will be the same, but the codes will be different. Your codes are different from my codes.
Yeah, but coding region, that sequence has to be similar.
Okay.
Because if it's a dissimilar, there's a possibility that you or I will have some disease, some kind of a manifestation, because that protein is not getting formed for some reason.
Okay. Okay.
But the other part, which is non-coded region, so this coding region is called exomes also. But the non-coding region, which is also called introns. Now, this is something which is much longer, much bigger. And this is something which the scientists were trying to figure out what it does actually.
Right.
It does definitely have some, kind of a relationship, but they're trying to figure out, have a better and better understanding.
Yes.
But it was also found that this part is made up of something called single nucleotide polymorphism, or SNP, SNPs, as it's called, also called SNP.
Okay.
So the SNP is something very individual for you. So my SNP, that non-coding region, is actually yours and mine is different. It has to be different, like a fingerprint. Your fingerprint, my fingerprint cannot be same.
So you and I have two things. One is the coded region, which should be similar, and then there is the non-coded region, which should be different, and which is very individualized, like the fingerprint.
Yeah, because that's why you are you and me. Am I me?
Okay. Interesting.
Okay, and therefore, with this has a lot of traits that which is individual to you and which is individual to me is encoded there. That means suppose I am in my family. Suppose someone is more diabetic prone, or in my family someone is more athletic. It can be anything, or it is obesity. So all these kind of traits are actually embedded. Some people love certain kind of food.
Yes.
It's also one of the main reason can be correlated with some kind of the genomic traits that that person is having.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So which means when you're finding this, so I told you one is a coding region and one is a non-coding region. Now let us look at the application.
Yes.
So application-wise, what's happening is that today, if I look at certain disease, the biggest impact of this is in cancer oncology.
Right.
Because in cancer, what is happening that there's a genome, there's a change in genome.
Yes.
In that, and it keeps on expanding, and there are more and more changes happening in the genome.
So this is again in which side of the genome now? Is it on the coded side?
It can be mostly coding region, mostly coding, but it in the non-coded region also it can change.
Okay.
Now, understanding those changes that have happened, the drug companies, the drug is getting designed to take care of that. So wherever there's some changes happening, there's a pathway changes happening. So understanding what is the pathway changes happening, you're giving some drug which will stop that pathway and break the cycle of the cancer.
Okay.
So there are many drugs which are coming up, which are called targeted therapy. So understanding which genomic changes happening, and therefore you're giving a treatment based on those drugs.
Interesting.
So that is one part of cancer. Along with it, that if you are able to understand from this genomic information, is the prognostication. That means how will the cancer patient fare? How will that cancer, whether the cancer people will really do well? What is the chance of survival? Is it survival is good survival chance?
Yes.
Low survival chance? So a lot of additional information that you can get.
Right.
And as the days, years are passing by, we are seeing a significant growth in the understanding of this science.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, because we are talking about cancer, like 5 years back, 6 years back, when we used to go to oncologists, very few oncologists to use, this. They're saying, no, it's too much of research, too much of, I'm not able to know which is the variants, which is useful. So because there are changes happening, he's saying, which is one which is related to cancer, which is not related to cancer? How do I know? Because the variants can happen to anyone.
Fair question.
Right. But today, because of, as I told you, because of better and better computational science, you're able to screen out the one which is not relevant. Yes. And therefore, today I see that there are quite a significant increase in demand for doing the genetic test for all the cancer patients, especially this thing, genomic test actually. So similarly,
that you said would actually benefits a lot.
Absolutely.
Any others that actually benefits? Is it only so? One is that. Which are the other segments? And
so other segments is another segment which I have seen. I'm going by the major impact it has created worldwide.
Sure.
Okay. The second major impact which I see created in terms of OB-GYNs and fetal medicine area.
Which means the gynecologists.
Gynecologist and obstetrician, and the fetal medicine is a new, relatively little lesser known science, medical science, where they take fetus as the patient.
Okay.
Yeah. So their whole focus is on treating the fetus. The fetus should be well-being of the fetus. They look after that.
So
when the mother is pregnant, the one will look after the mother's well-being. The other doctors will they will understand the whole structure of the fetus, and what they can do for the fetus.
So is it the pediatricians who treat them, or is
no? It is unborn baby.
Okay.
So, it is when it's in the womb. So you can treat. In fact, there are some. Of course, I'm a little diverting, but there are some. Today they are doing surgeries in fetus. That's the kind of science it has.
I understand.
And not with surgery, there are a lot of kind of procedures that are doing for fetus actually. So anyway, so coming back to the point is that you may have heard or may not have heard of something called NIPT, non-invasive prenatal testing, or non-invasive prenatal screening.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what it does is basically if you see that you must have heard of Down syndrome.
Yes.
And Down syndrome happens to be one of the most common genetic disorder in the babies. So for every 700 births, there's one Down. That's the kind of global statistics.
Yes.
So earlier, what used to do, if you really want to know, a doctor really want to know the fetus is affected with Downs, they have to do an invasive procedure. That means you have to insert a needle in the womb, aspirate some fluid when the baby is inside, and there that aspirated fluid will have baby's skin cells, which we will grow in a lab like ours. Right. And we'll be able to see the baby's chromosome or DNA, whatever we want to see.
Right.
But NIPT, what it has done is that, again, this is why I'm telling NIPT, again, they use a genomic sequencing to do that.
Interesting.
So from the fetus within in the womb also keep on shedding cells.
Yes.
And it keeps on, kind of our body also, we keep on shedding skins. Our cells keep on dying, and there's a regeneration of cell. The same thing happens in the fetus.
Interesting.
So yeah, even in the fetus that, the cells are dying and there's a regeneration. So when the cells are dying, those DNAs are breaking up finally. A breaking up fragments, it is going out of the placenta into mother's womb, a mother's maternal blood. These are flowing in the mother's maternal blood, those DNA fragments.
Of the
So
fetus.
there's a billions, yeah. So you take one in aspirin, take some one couple of ml, it has billions of fragments of the baby's DNA.
Wow.
And also the mother's DNA also.
Sure. Sure.
So now what we will do is that we will sequence that and we will find out what is the chance of the baby having Downs, and the accuracy almost over 99%, 99.56% accuracy with which we can say that the baby. So therefore, what happened now? Suddenly, that invasive procedure, because the invasive procedure would have a 1%, kind of a chance of miscarriage. So now, and also you can understand the trauma of a big needle going through the abdomen. So there's a big trauma for the patient. So you bypass that, and now from the blood, simple blood draw, you are giving the information of the genetic condition of the baby.
So you've got two that you've pointed out. One was oncology, and the second thing is about what you want to call as prenatal testing.
Third is pediatrics. Pediatrics, if I look at pediatric, many of the neural conditions for the pediatrics, most of them has got some kind of genomic kind of a reason. The origin is genomic.
Right.
So today, what we are doing for the babies, who has this, or child who has this pediatric conditions, so you are able, if you are able to do the genomic sequencing and find out where that disease, what a disease is, and therefore there are quite a few treatments available. Treatments means it may not be completely cured, but definitely if you do certain things, that child can have a much better quality of life. The whole family can have a much better quality of life. The same thing happening for many rare disorders also. Now, along with it, now other specialties are coming in. I mean, they're also finding applications now. Nephrology, I can tell you there's application. Cardiac, today they are saying there are certain genes are involved, which are someone who has stroke. Actually, there's some gene which are saying that that if you have, there's a higher chance of developing stroke or heart attack or something. So these are the kind of applications which we are seeing in the clinical side.
Right. Right.
Now, apart from clinical side, there are two more sides also.
Okay, that's interesting.
Where the application. So one is area is something called pharmacogenomics. Now, pharmacogenomics is basically that, as I told you, we each individuals are different because of our genomic reason. Yes. Therefore, the drug that is given to you, and the drug is given to some other patient, the patient may vary differently. The response may vary from the patient to patient. Okay. Example, suppose a patient who is suffering from a bipolar depression. Okay. Now the drug given to patient A, it works perfectly well. He's got a very nice response, very quick response, recovers quickly. The second guy, there's lots of side effects and very mediocre kind of a response. The third guy hardly any response only.
Right. Right.
So the reason is that the pharmacogenomic reason, that means our body is wired up for how I'm accepting the drug in terms of how I'm metabolizing it, how my liver is metabolizing it, right. How my is it allowing allowing it to pass my blood-brain barrier.
Right.
All these things vary because of my genomic makeup.
Okay.
So the application, if I'm able to understand your genomic condition from before, and after that, if I give a drug to you, to a patient, you can see this. There's no hit and miss kind of a condition. Then you know that this drug will work with this patient, and therefore you're given, and therefore the patient gets a kind of a good relief or recovery.
Fantastic.
Okay, so this is pharmacogenomics. The third one, which is much bigger one, which is a potentially bigger, but that's right now is in a very nascent stage, is a personalized genomics, or in US it is called direct to consumer genomics.
Okay.
That means that is something you need not have to be having some disease or underlying disease. It is just a person like you and me. Okay. So what we have we are right now, we say, okay, will I get some diabetic conditions very soon? Will I have some cardiac condition very soon? Or I'm always running, suppose, you heard of some stories of last couple of years that youngsters who used to run, youngster means not youngsters really, but some 40 plus, they used to go for marathon and suddenly drop dead.
Yes.
After exercising. There is a high possibility because there's some genomic reason for this.
Okay. Okay.
So, which means that suppose and therefore also, let's say whatever the nutrition that we take. The example I give you, like the pharmacogenomics, my body is made up of accepting some chemicals and not accepting some chemicals, or interacting with the chemical very differently from person to person. The same principles hold true for nutrition also.
Fantastic. Okay. Okay.
I mean, one very common thing which I think your audience will also know is the gluten.
Yes.
So you may have a gluten allergy or gluten intolerance, and we may not be knowing, and we're continually eating parathas daily
Mm-hmm.
and feeling that is okay. That's what I am. That's you don't feel good, but you say this is how I am. This is goodness for me. This is wellness for me.
Right.
Now,
Right.
if I'm able to get those information, provide that complete information about athletic condition of yours, you're prone to different diseases, even your hair, skin, your baldness, hair, all kind of information we can provide.
Excellent.
And if I'm able to provide that information and therefore provide some kind of a nutritional guidance to you, also give you some kind of you know that okay, looking at this, look, I know I'm more prone to this kind of risk. Maybe I'll do something, which I change my lifestyle or change my nutrition, so that I do not move towards that direction. So there's a kind of a possibilities, a real possibilities again, very near possibilities
Wow.
that is available now.
So this is fantastic. In fact, it completely clarifies. I'm just thinking that it is like I do not know if the right word is the report card, but it is virtually a kind of a report card for each of us. We can take that thing around. And what I found was very interesting was that you said open up the gene, read the gene, individualize the person, and once you do that, it is simple to understand what is the propensity of a person to a problem or to a response. So if it's a problem, then you actually plan for taking care of the problem or treating the problem, or a response. And I like the way you said about nutrition. So and therefore these, I'm assuming these are athletes, and there are people who must be actually able to use this
Absolutely.
to some effect right now. That's the one thing that you had mentioned to me, when we spoke last, was that you had done something at a test level. You had done something inside your office,
Yeah.
obviously without divulging details of individuals. What was the interesting thing that you found out?
Yeah, so Rana, we did a small number of some employees in our lab, all ladies actually. We did with some what we took it was a blinded study that we took their details, what are their kind of underlying conditions. Somewhere like some had hypothyroidism, someone had where had a diabetic conditions. They taking some drugs or some diabetic medicines. Many of them had that PCOS, which is a kind of a gynecological conditions. Hmm. Uh, so these are the common response given by those employees. That this is what we are having, and we took their age, weight, and all other things, and we sequenced their genome.
Mhm.
Now, after sequencing, when we got the report, when we have got our own reporting system, which can decipher the genomic information to reporting. We found that I'll give an example that someone who was taking a diabetic medicine showed that she was high risk for diabetes. That means that she's genomically made up for diabetic condition. Another one interesting kind of of our employee, where what we found was a couple of interesting fact came up. She said that she had a PCOS condition. That's what she said, and she said she's a hypothyroidism.
That is PCOS is a gynecological.
Gynae condition. PCOS is the gynae condition, and she had a hypothyroidism, right?
It's a thyroid disorder.
Thyroid. So when we actually checked the report came out of this lady, it was PCOS. Yes, it came to moderate to severe. The gynae condition came moderate to severe. Hypothyroidism came normal. Okay, though she said she is hypothyroid. She got acne it came moderate to, I think, severe. I think something severe it came that she never mentioned. And also intolerance to sunlight, tanning, basically something about tanning. Okay, intolerance to sunlight, so that came as one of the trait. That also, I think, moderate to severe, I believe.
Okay.
And one more thing I should tell you that she also came high risk for diabetes.
Okay.
Yeah. But she does not have any diabetic condition.
Okay.
Now, when we checked with her, that look, this is the condition, because we did it from them. It is our duty to give it to them, So when we shared with her, one was, yes, PCOS was showing. When we checked with our acne, she said, yes, I have a tremendous acne problem from my childhood. Even today, I have an acne problem, which we are not knowing. We never, didn't add that information. The tanning also, she said, yes, tanning, like, she gets, she's not able to go to sunlight, little long in sunlight. I mean, she'll have a badly tanned, and it takes a lot of time to come back to her, natural skin color. Then I asked about diabetes. Do you have any diabetic condition? I said, do you have a family history? He said, no. Then I said, he said, no, my mother, family history, when mother is diabetic. So she has a family history.
Right.
So she has a family history of diabetic condition, which was shown in that. Now the mystery is the hypothyroidism.
Correct.
Because hypothyroidism, she said that she has hypothyroidism, but this is coming low. Or it's normal, it's come normal. So when our clinical geneticists and all, they check the data, they found that, with that PCO, that gynecological condition, it has got a strong correlation with, it manifests into hypothyroidism.
Right.
Yeah. Now, in this lady, what happened then? What is the insight or useful information that you can get, saying that, look, that hypothyroidism that you have, it is not a genomic or intrinsic in you. It is getting manifested through the PCOS.
Uh-huh.
If you are able to take care of the PCOS, manage PCOS, like management of PCOS, one of the best ways to reduce weight, be more fit. That's one good way. Okay. If you're able to do that, your hypothyroidism will anyway go away, because that's an intrinsic part of your genome.
Interesting.
So those are interesting, insights, that the possibilities of giving insights that is, and let me tell you, this we are getting developed, So it's, of course, it's going to, finally will become a much more, robust kind of a solution.
This is fascinating, Dasti. First of all, listen. I will thank you for doing this, but before I do so, I will tell you, it kind of answers to one thing that constantly intrigued me on why do they call it the future of medicine? Why is everything about it? I thought that by unfurling the human genome, I thought it was done. But I guess even while unfurling, it's just about now I know what to read, or where all to read. But there is so much of information there that is fascinating. What actually gets to me is, as I said earlier, it's about both the sides. It's about decoding a human being to understand from his health, his makeup, you said his nutrition, his well-being.
Absolutely.
And this is a very interesting thing that you unfurled about giving an example of what happened inside. Sometimes we don't even know we are possibly taking medicines for things which don't need treatment.
Absolutely.
This is fascinating. This is very, very, very insightful, Dasti. Thanks for doing it for us. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. I'm sure a lot of people will learn and enjoy this session.